Are you doing an open house at the same location? Transportation, you know, your vehicle, the company vehicle, their vehicle, do they ride with you, do you ride with them? How do you play that out? And do you have a contingency if you do lose that means of transportation? How many of you ride with a client? Good. Okay, do you?
Oh, ride with a.
Yeah, ride with a client.
Depends. Well, not with a.
Be with them driving?
Yes, with them driving.
I have done
Big no, don't do that. You are giving up your primary use escape.
I've done it with people, kids.
Yeah, meet them someplace. How many of you put clients in your vehicle? Okay. Just be wary of that. You know, even though they're in the vehicle with you and you're driving the vehicle, that doesn't necessarily mean you're in control. Plenty of people have been abducted and their abductors make them drive. And it happens frequently. Okay? Because they can control you because they don't have to control the car. Okay? So keep that in mind when you put clients in their car. If you get that feeling, have an option. If you meet the person here at the office and you're going to take them out to show a property and your intent initially was to drive them, why does it have to stay that way? Go, you know what, I'm sorry, I have another appointment right after this one. I don't want to tie up, you know, you having to bring you back to your vehicle. Here's the address, just follow me, and you meet there. Yeah, you've created distance, you've created a safety buffer with how much contact they can have with you and how much space they can control. Once again, too wrapped up in the sale. If you get a bad feeling, lie. And then have a contingency so that you bring someone with you. Doesn't mean you have to abandon the sale, of course. But if you meet the person here in the lobby and something about them, just you are not comfortable going with them someplace, have a fallback. Lie. I tell people all the time. Okay? We can lie for our safety. It's one of the few times our mothers will allow us to lie. Okay? Okay? Say, you know what, I'm sorry, I just had an emergency phone call from my child's school. Can we set this up for another day? And when you set it back up, be prepared to control that situation better. Okay, if this is a client you've never met before, get up with another realtor. Hey, can you go with me? Because I just got this weird feeling about this guy. Well, guess what? It's going to be really hard to control two people. So just trust that instinct a little bit. All too often we ignore those instincts. All of our bodies have a certain amount of what I term as genetic memory. It comes from all the way back from when we had to fight for everything that we ever got. That genetic memory stays with us regardless. How many of you people have children? Remember back to when your children were small. What makes a baby flinch from a loud sound? They have no frame of reference. They have no reason to fear it. It's genetic instinct. The loud sound startles them. It's a reflex. As we get older, we start to ignore those reflexes. What I call our caveman instinct. That instinct will tell you when something's wrong. The problem is we let our brain talk our body out of it. Think about the last time you were in a situation where you were uncomfortable and you couldn't quite put your finger on what was making you uncomfortable, but you knew something was wrong. And how quickly you tried to talk yourself out of it as just you overreacting to something. That's absolutely wrong. You should be trusting that instinct 100%. Because that instinct will keep you alive. That instinct will prevent you from being victimized. Because I can't tell you how many times over my years I've talked to a victim after a crime and I've heard the term, I knew there was something not quite right, but. I'm like, no, we stop right there. There's no but. Okay, as soon as you get the feeling something's not right, it's time to change what's going on. Either by you abandoning the situation, you creating distance, you moving away from whatever's making you uncomfortable, you changing the environment. You have control over that, but you've got to follow that instinct. Do not ignore that instinct. Okay? People who have served in combat will tell you instinct is everything. You might not know what's wrong, but you know something's wrong. Okay? And you don't ignore that. You go, you know what? Couldn't possibly be that, because you know what? It's going to be exactly that. So, situational environmental awareness. Do you know what's going on around you? You know, how many of you show houses where there's more than one? It's you and maybe a husband and wife. Okay. Would you ever feel threatened by a husband and wife showing a house to them at the same time?
Yes.
Should be.
Yes.
Because you have no idea what husbands and wives have committed crimes together before. You know, what happens when they split up in the house? Who do you go with?
Neither one.
Yeah, good answer. Neither one. Wait for them to come back to you. Okay? Don't allow them to lead you someplace. It's the same mechanism that shoplifters use. Okay, they'll divide the staff up in a store, and eventually you run out of staff. Well, that leaves one offender to start putting stuff in a bag while everybody else is distracted. Same thing. They can guide you or take you to someplace, you don't know where that other person is. So when you come into a room and you think you're just with this person, there's somebody already waiting there, are you prepared to deal with that situation? So know where these people are, okay? And if you, once again, trust that instinct. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. Have you identified any possible threats? Okay? If you're showing a property out in a rural area and it's late in the evening, have you thought about that? Okay? The house, most houses still have power, but if they don't, it's going to get dark. Should you be there? Absolutely not. If they change the time and it's going to put you there near dark, abandon it. Okay? And bring it back at a different time. Okay? Don't let them control the situation. Think about what's going to happen, not just at the moment you meet with these people, but in the moments after that, and 20, 30, 45 minutes later, after they've inundated you with 500 questions about an empty house. And now it's nearly dark, and there's no street lights because you're in a community, you know, just outside of Leesburg, and you're in a house that doesn't have electricity, doesn't have phone service, and there's a husband and wife and you. Think about it, okay? Trust that instinct. Why is that a threat? If you feel uncomfortable about something, can you identify why you feel uncomfortable about it? Don't discount it, look for the reason. Is it the person's behavior? Is it the language that they're using? Is it they keep getting close to you? They keep touching you? You know, some cultures, there's lots of physical contact. Okay? And we deal with this all the time in law enforcement. Middle Eastern communities, a lot of physical contact between men. Well, it's nothing like having a Middle Eastern male come up to you and touch you on the shoulders or talking to you, which is a big no-no for cops. Okay, it'll make you real uncomfortable real quick. Okay, but very quickly we learned that that's a very routine thing. It's a comfort thing. They're doing that out of respect. But that doesn't make it correct. And I've explained to many Middle Eastern males, you can't do that with law enforcement officers because we take that as an aggressive act and something bad might happen to you then. And they've kind of modified their behavior a little bit to kind of recognize that. But why is it, whatever's going on, why does it make you feel threatened? And then, what are you going to do? If you know something's wrong, you may or may not have identified it, but now what? Are you paying attention to what's going on? Are you walking around with the listing and you're reading information from the listing, or are your eyes up? Are you paying attention to what's going on around you? Do you know that one person went up the stairs and you're still with the husband down here on the main floor? You know? How many of you have showed house with the whole family?
Yeah.
Good luck. You don't know where anybody is. Okay? You got latched on to one person and you don't know where the other 4 people took off to in the house. Okay? So you need to be eyes up, scanning, paying attention. Okay? Once you realize something's wrong, you have to have a plan. Okay? This is where you should have thought about this ahead of time. This is where you realize, does my phone work? Where's the door? Where's the closest door I can get out of? Okay? How many of you have shown a house, and I still see this in houses here when I go in and do security evaluations, where they have what are called double-cylinder deadbolts, where it's a key on both sides. And you go to the door to take a client outside to show them something, and the key's not in the door. You had that happen? Okay. Well, guess what? You might have known the door was there, but when you get to it as a means of escape and there's no key in it, it's no longer a means of escape. So did you check that ahead of time? Did you develop a plan on how you're going to get out of the house if you get cut off from the entrance that you came in? And once you have this plan, exercise it. Okay? Get there with enough time that you can walk the floor plan, walk the area so you know where things are, drive the neighborhood, where's the next closest car, or the next closest residence. Okay? When you drove by it, did it look like somebody was home? Yeah, there were kids out in the front yard, the garage doors were up. That's the better house to run to than the other one on the other side that nobody was in, the house, the grass was 4 feet tall. When you run over there and bang on that door, guess what? There's probably nobody there. Okay? Develop this plan. You probably will never have to use it, but guess what? If it happens, you're going to go with it because you've already thought about it. It's already in your head. You're not going to lock up, you're not going to freeze and try to come up with a plan while the act is taking place. Because you know what? Unless you're highly skilled and you've been in this situation numerous times before, it's not going to happen. Your body's going to lock up, you're going to go into tunnel vision, and you're probably going to remember about 1/10 of what happened. psychologically, because your stress level is going to go from 0 to 100 in seconds. Equipped to act, not only mentally but physically. If you've exercised this plan, you go, okay, you know, they're going to want to see the master bedroom. I know there's a stairwell that comes back down to the kitchen, so if I need to get out of it that way, I check the kitchen door, I can open and close it. You know, there's no kind of weird lock. I'll give you a good example of houses with weird locks. I went to do a security evaluation on a residence, and the front door is a high security door. Not only does it have the bolt lock and the regular lock, but it's got a 4-pin lock that comes out of the top and bottom on each side of the door. So there's actually 6 points of security on the door. It's actually, and luckily I had seen the door before. My father-in-law has it on his house. When they did the renovation on his house, they put this kind of beautiful decorative door you never know was a security door. It's like $7,000 door set. But I went to do this security evaluation. These people had moved into the house, they'd been in the house for a year. They had never opened the front door because they could not figure out how to open it.
That was a security door.
There's a combination to how you have to turn things to which way you push the knob up or down that frees up all 6 bolts. The only way I knew is because I had spent like 35 minutes with my father-in-law figuring out how it worked, because he couldn't open his either. Okay? But that's a perfect example. Do you know which way the keys turn? Which direction turns them to unlock the door? Because sometimes lock sets are put in upside down. So when you go to turn the knob, you're actually locking the door. If you've done this, if your hands have touched it and done it already, when you get there in a panic, your hands will do it again without thinking about it. But if you haven't thought about it, you're going to keep turning and keep turning and keep turning and pulling on the door. Guess what? And then they're closing distance. So you have to create this plan. It only takes a few minutes. It doesn't take a lot of time. You could probably do this in an average size house here in Loudoun County in less than 5 minutes. You just need to have a little bit of familiarity with what you're handling and what you're dealing with. And physically, and we'll talk about physically here in a second. So you have this plan in your head. When whatever it is, starts to happen, what now? Well, you're ready to act, you're equipped to act and act. Don't let it go by. Because as soon as you get that feeling that something's not right, you need to act. Because this person is already thinking about what they're going to do. They are already ahead of you. You've got to catch up and pass them so that they can't commit whatever it is they're about to try to commit. Now, once you start to move away, once their plan, now they're having to modify their plan while you're exercising your plan, now they're having to chase you. That's what you want. And you want them to have to adapt their plan to what you're doing. As long as you keep doing that, they're not going to win that situation. They're going to have to catch you in order to win that situation. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And tunnel vision. For people that aren't under regular stress, okay, tunnel vision happens in seconds. When your body reaches its maximum stress potential physically and mentally, your field of view is 4 inches directly in front of you. You will see nothing else. Okay. We put recruits under stress, that are non-military personnel, under stress situations in the academy, and it's about 4 inches, 4 to 6 inches. They won't see anything else outside of that. Okay? You amp them up high enough, and that's what you're going to see. So when you're walking down a hallway and you don't have a plan and you're trying to get out of a building and your stress level's high, you're going to miss everything that's going on outside of that 4 inches. So you might actually walk past the door you were intending to go out of. You might pass your cell phone that you left sitting on the kitchen counter because you've only got 4 inches of space that you're seeing there. How you control that is you develop that plan. You've walked your plan already. Your body's familiar with it. So when you go to act, your body doesn't go 0 to 100. It might go 0 to 50. And you're exercising your plan. Mentally, you've already prepared for it. Mentally, you're already following the train of thought that you've already developed in your head just minutes ago. You go through, you exercise your plan, and you escape. But without that plan, you're going to go all the way up that level. You're going to max out your stress level. You're going to lose dexterity in your hands. You're going to lose the ability to run. Your field of vision is going to narrow down to 4 inches. Not the optimal situation. Not by any means. Okay. Fine motor skills are the first thing to go. Manipulating door locks, dialing the telephone, dropping things. It all happens under heightened stress.
I thought your adrenaline kicked in and then you could do things like supernaturally.
No.
It's called that adrenaline.
It goes completely the other way.
Oh, that's not the reason.
I can tell you firsthand, and you can too, under stress, the simple act of pushing a button on the side of my magazine removing a big metal box and inserting another big metal box with more bullets in it can be tremendous. Okay? Because guess what? Fine motor skills are the first thing to go. First thing to go. They call it focus. It's not focus, it's tunnel vision. Okay? And you're like, oh no, I get really focused under stress. No, that's your body reacting and you have 4 inches of visual, what they call visual depth. That means you're missing the rest of that going on around you. Okay? It certainly doesn't do that. Now, in certain cases you will. You may get strength. You may be able to do certain things that you couldn't physically do before. That's just adrenaline being dumped into your body. Run faster, push harder, punch harder, bite, kick, all those reactionary things, your body will do instinctually. But your dexterity and stuff definitely doesn't increase. Yeah. Trying to think of a way you can stress yourself out so you can see how bad it is.
That's okay. We'll just take your
No, you know what? One of the things that they do with military personnel, they also do with law enforcement, is they simulate that. So you can recognize that happening to yourself, and you can start to back yourself down so you can go back to committing those things that you need to do. I'm a tactical paramedic. And when I work on a person that's been shot, and I have, you'd be amazed, tunnel vision, 4 inches. All I see is the person that I'm working on. That's it. And until I'd done that 5 or 6 times, I lost everything else. You lose your sense of hearing. You're not going to hear what's going on around you because you're going to have what's called auditory exclusion. You won't hear people calling your name. You won't hear gunfire going on around you. All of that's going to go. So as your stress level goes out, all those senses start to diminish.
Yeah, I would just say something to sort of speak to that. I think most people know here in their military background, but I'll save you all the details of some of these stories. But one story, sort of benign story, is we were flying back to Al Asad one day. It was just in Iraq, and the helicopter caught on fire, and we had to land out in the desert. But anyways, we go through a lot of procedures for aircraft, and his deputy's exactly right. I mean, you go obviously. Hopefully nobody here will be in this type of situation, but you go into, we have procedures for everything, how to turn the helicopter on, how to turn it off, how to turn it off when it's on fire, how to do all that stuff. So, but you almost, it's like you blank out, you almost forget and what happened, and you go through things in sort of a subconscious sort of trained response. And I think that, having practiced something once or twice before or having thought through it, we always in the military use the KISS principle, like keep it simple, stupid. But a couple of steps that you're going to do, especially if it becomes sort of your standard procedure, when you go into a house, all those things happen. I mean, all those things of sort of losing your frame of reference and all that stuff happens. So it's absolutely true.
I'll give you a good example of manual dexterity. I was trying to find one that was relative to civilians. Now, not pleading guilty to anything. How many of you, because we live in a cell phone society, can dial your phone while you drive your car without a second thought? Don't lie, come on.
No, I could when I had buttons. I just
Now think back to the first time you tried to dial. Think back to the first time you tried to dial your phone while you were driving your car, and how stressful that was, and how you kept hitting the wrong number because you're looking up, you're looking down, you're looking up, you're looking down. But after doing it repetitiously and it becomes commonplace, and it doesn't stress your body out, so your dexterity gets better, you can look.
Yeah, exactly.
That's part of that repetition. You've desensitized yourself to that act. You've desensitized yourself to that stress level in that environment, and your body doesn't stress you out. You can do it without thinking about it. It's like sports players. The act of catching a ball when you know you're about to get hammered by a 300-pound person, very stressful. But you do it enough, and it becomes repetitious. You know you're going to get hit. Your body accepts it. Your mind accepts it. You catch the ball and you wait. It's the same thing. It's that same principle of exercising that mental aspect of some type of act. So, in order to defend yourself, we have our mental mindset. We know what we're going to have to do. Ultimately, our first goal is to escape. Is escape always our option? No. Sometimes we have to create the opportunity to escape. So, what do you really need to defend yourself? Okay. We live in Virginia's a very gun-friendly state. Obviously I have guns in my household. Okay, I have work guns and personal guns. Lots of people, statistics say 1 in 5 in Loudoun County have firearms within the residence. But what do you really need to defend yourself? Now think in our Cro-Magnon caveman mindset, what do you really need? Most of what we need is what we already have, okay? You've got fingernails, you've got fingernails. Does it hurt? Yeah, it hurts a lot. If my wife ever wants to get me, she just pinches me. Okay?
Yeah, so we'll be saying to the guy, hold still.
Think about it. If they're expecting you to be this passive person, and they're expecting you to not resist, and you start resisting violently, now they have to catch up. Their plan is no longer one that's dictating what's going on. Your plan is now dictating what's going on. And they've got to react. Reaction is approximately 3/4 to 1.5 seconds after reaction. So you're ahead of them. As long as you continue to act ahead of them, they can't catch up. They're constantly going to be reacting and trying to stop what you're doing. And as long as you keep doing, they're going to keep trying to stop it. And then you're creating that gap, that time that you need to make that escape, to get to that door, to get to your phone, to lock yourself in the bathroom, whatever you have to do to get away from them. Hands, feet, mouth. Okay, can a bite hurt? Yeah, I'll show you a picture here in a second. Accessories, generalized weapons. Let's talk about this a little bit. Fingernails, kick,